So hello guys, welcome to episode 19 of our F1 Manager Safe here on the channel. Now, we've got a lot to talk about before this race, but I'll try and squeeze it in as quickly as I can. Firstly, last race in Qatar. Good race for Esteban Ocon P7, decent race-ish for Pierre Gasly P10. Fernando Alonso superb, winning it by just under a second from Checo Perez. Max Verstappen, big lockup, meant that he lost the lead when he was leading comfortably all the way through the weekend. Standings wise, bring you up to date on that. Red Bull have got the constructors tied up basically. They lead by nearly 200 points. Alpine, we are in front of Williams, but that gap may close. I'm going to tell you why shortly. Drivers standings, Max Verstappen is leading by 103 points from Perez. Ocon is on 45 points. Pierre Gasly is on 27. Remember that, because this is where it's about to get significant. Let's have a little look at the inbox and the cost cap projection warning. We have breached the cost cap. That is a major detriment to our season, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. We are going to receive a fine at the end of this season. That is the first thing. Second thing, if we have a little look at the cost cap, we have spent 140 million. We was only meant to spend 139, and we've still got 4 or 5 races left to go. What does that mean in terms of car part development? It means that we cannot manufacture any further components. It also means that we can't set forward any more design or research projects for the rest of this season. Not only as detrimental to this season, but detrimental to next season. If I just show you here, for example, it's blocked. Now, as car parts are failing inspections after races, it means that if we haven't got them in the warehouse already, we can't replace the parts with the same spec, because that would mean us spending money. That has meant that Pierre Gasly, as he is in second position to Esteban Ocon in the driver standings, is going to have to take worse car parts on his car towards the end of the season. If we have a look at this moment in time, there's already been a couple of car parts that we've had to change on Pierre Gasly's car, and it's meant, if we have a look at this right hand side here, the Alpine Car 1 is now a decent, well, a better package than the Alpine Car 2. Am I concerned about this? Yes. It does mean we are going to lose ground on competitors. It means Pierre Gasly's got more difficult weekends to come than Esteban Ocon, but it might mean that Esteban Ocon has to also drop car parts as well in the next few races. Fortunately, in terms of power units and things like that, we're not looking too bad, so we may be able to get through the rest of the season with that, but it's now going to be a slog towards the end of this season. This weekend, though, we go to Austin in Texas for the United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. 56 lap round here. Tyre wear is major round here, so something to bear in mind. Looks like we're going to have a pretty dry race all the way through. We'll get into performance targets. Car attributes, low and high speed cornering. We are decent at high speed. Expected strategy, it's got to be a 2-stop. Medium, hard. We may try a 1-stop, dependent on Pierre Gasly's ability, because we know he can be a bit of a tyre whisperer, and what happens in terms of qualifying. And that is basically everything you need to know about this Grand Prix. So it's going to be a slog towards the end of this season. We have got rumours of a new team taking over, whether it's the Renault Works team or we've got Andretti showing interest in the Alpine at the moment. The accountants aren't happy. The board aren't going to be happy. But we've got to make sure that we get P5, and we've got to be a lot more savvy with the finances next season. So I'm going to get through practice, and I'll see you in qualifying for the United States Grand Prix.
Here we are now at qualifying.
Just like a normal race qualifying session, drivers will battle it out for their starting grid positions. But this time, it'll be for the upcoming sprint.
Absolutely crucial moment here in Q2 as Pierre Gasly crosses the line. He goes P9, but there's a few cars yet to finish their laps. Esteban Ocon's in P8. Russell's the one we are watching here, because if he crosses the line, I would expect him to beat both our guys. Magnussen's still on a lap. We've got a few cars still on a lap. As we just fast forward this round a little bit, I'm expecting George Russell to get into Q3, possibly Kevin Magnussen. Russell doesn't. Both Alpines are into Q3. Russell only good enough for P11. Very, very interesting that from the Mercedes driver. Couldn't put it together. Misses out by 1/100th of a second. So here we are then, final laps in Q3. Esteban Ocon is green through the first and second sectors, as is Pierre Gasly, isn't he? He's actually yellow through the first sector. But Esteban Ocon's the man we are relying on at this moment in time. I'm not a huge fan of these sprint weekends at the moment for this Alpine car, because they don't seem to suit us. We tend to go backwards rather than forwards in these sprint races. But let's have a look. Esteban Ocon green through the first. We look like we're really holding up. I believe that's Lance Stroll behind us. But Esteban Ocon comes to cross the line, doesn't improve enough. Pierre Gasly is yellow through the first and second sectors. We'll forward it on. Verstappen's going to be on pole. Gasly only good enough for P10. So it will be 8th and 10th for the sprint race. Let's have a look at what tyres. It's got to be mediums, hasn't it? Right, guys, 7th and 10th. Nothing crazy. Both cars starting on the medium compounder tyre. We've got mediums. We've got one set of mediums for tomorrow. So that's something to bear in mind. I'm actually wondering if we go for the softs and save the mediums for tomorrow. That may be something we consider. Right, guys, so nothing too clever. Both sets of cars starting on the mediums. It makes sense. They are the optimal tyre. We're pretty happy with the fuel. I'm not going to go too aggressive. Whatever happens, happens here. We know we seem to get better the longer the race goes on. So Ocon 7th, Gasly 10th. Let's see what we can do.
The grid is all set here in Texas for the 19 laps of today's sprint. Things are hotting up here in Texas for the sprint. And it's lights out and away we go.
And away we go, and Verstappen is on pole from Alonso. It looks like Verstappen's got a cracking getaway, to be fair. So has Fernando Alonso. Straight away, we look like we're going to lose positions. We're going to be aggressive on the overtakes. That seems to work well for us. Pierre Gasly looks like he got caught up in something there. And what we don't need to happen is crashes and us losing front wings and things. Let's have a look at George Russell here. It's George Russell with the Alpine, and I would suggest he's cut across Pierre Gasly, damaged his front wing, and Pierre Gasly will not be happy with that. And straight away, we're going to have a look at the aerodynamics. He's got damage all across his car. It could be a lot worse, but could it be worse? We're going to have to assess this situation. But Verstappen leads from Alonso. Ocon's in P7. Gasly, poor Pierre Gasly, on lap 10. He's had it. And the decision was made. Pierre Gasly has been retired from the sprint race. No point using up tyres. No point using up other components. Gasly is out of the sprint race here in Texas. So it is just one car to look at. We're retiring the car. And Ocon now is the man who's got to chase after Lewis Hamilton. He's got Logan Sargent behind him. A very fast Logan Sargent at this moment in time. Checo Perez is out of position as well in P9. So Esteban Ocon, the only Alpine, left on the circuit. On lap 2, it's Verstappen leading from Alonso. Stroll's just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon under pressure from Logan Sargent, but at the moment keeping him at bay. Lap 2. As it tends to be the case in these sprint races for our Alpine, Ocon dropping positions. He's dropped another position down to P9. Logan Sargent, he's managing to keep up with Checo Perez. This is rather concerning for the Constructors' battle. Where is Alexander Albon down in P15? So Esteban Ocon in P9. Now, I'm assuming it's going to be one of those again. I'm assuming we're going to catch back up with these guys in a little while. George Russell has got a penalty for that incident with Pierre Gasly. But Ocon work to do to catch up with the Williams. Lap 3. Lap 6. And you know that we seem to come into it after the first few laps. We certainly have done here, because Esteban Ocon up into P8. He's managed to overtake Logan Sargent. Interesting that the fuel seems okay around here as well. Something to bear in mind. He's a good 2.5 seconds back to Lewis Hamilton. But Esteban Ocon in P8 now, pulling away from Logan Sargent. George Russell not enjoying his afternoon. And to be fair, I'm rather glad he isn't. Not that I'm bitter, but I am. Esteban Ocon in P8. Still at the front, it's Max Verstappen, but Fernando Alonso keeping him honest. The Dutchman. Charles Leclerc in P3. Stroll P4. It's very tight in the top 5 positions. Perez is working his way through well, and he's now nearly on the back of this front pack. Hamilton's in a bit of no man's land. Then comes Ocon, Sargent and Magnussen. At the back, we've got Nick De Vries in the Alpha Tauri. The 2 Alfa Romeos have had a shocking season. That 4-leaf clover on the livery, not providing any luck for them. Albon's in P14, but Russell really struggling at this moment on lap 7. And it just keeps getting worse for George Russell. He's gone into the pits, and after causing that incident with Gasly on turn 1, he served his penalty. And after 5 seconds, he's also going to have a pit stop issue as well, which... that's a funny old highlight, that. On lap 7, Ocon just about keeping Logan Sargent at bay. Watch for debris, it says Ocon's race engineer, and it looks like it's Oscar Piastri and the Haas of, I believe that's Hülkenberg. Same incident as what happened with Pierre Gasly. It's his front wing, and that Haas will be severely damaged. It's a battle for P14 and P15. Not brought out a safety car. Ocon, though, now on the back of Hamilton. Hamilton's tyres wearing. That is the one positive about this car. We are very kind on our tyres, and Esteban Ocon now on the back of Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. You love to see it as Hamilton's starting to weave on the straight. Ocon getting the toe, and look at this, DRS gaining on Lewis Hamilton. Esteban Ocon right on the attack now of the Mercedes driver. And with around 10 laps to go, Esteban Ocon, we didn't get the highlight because we don't seem to get them in sprint races at times. Esteban Ocon managing to get past Lewis Hamilton, and he's pulling away from the Mercedes. What a time to be alive. The Alpine is quicker than the Mercedes. Loving it. Verstappen is still leading from Leclerc now, but it's a 3-4-5-way battle for the lead. But Leclerc, Alonso and Verstappen are the main protagonists at this point in time. Perez is in P6. He's done fantastic to get up there. We're going to score points in this sprint race if we carry on like this. I'll tell you something, if the Grand Prix on Sunday is anything like this sprint race, it's going to be action-packed because we've had another incident on circuit. This time it's Checo Perez, and it's a similar accident again, cutting across in turn 1. That Red Bull hasn't got damaged by the looks of it. Perez not happy with Stroll. Stroll not happy with Perez, but it looks like it's Stroll that's got the warning or the penalty. We'll keep an eye on that. Esteban Ocon 10 seconds back. Probably won't affect him at the moment. Hamilton seems to be coming into it at this moment in time. Lap 14. Verstappen has lost the lead from Leclerc. Leclerc leading, but it's now a two-way fight for the win here in this sprint. Hamilton, we're doing just enough to hold him off. Last lap, and Leclerc is leading, but Max Verstappen will get DRS down this long DRS straight. Can Max Verstappen manage to overtake the Ferrari? The tyres are basically equal. Will Max Verstappen pull to the inside? He certainly will. He looks like he's going to manage to get the job done here. And he's got the inside line. It's going to be side by side through this next sector. Who is going to win the sprint here in Texas this afternoon as the sun's setting? Leclerc looks like he's doing just enough to hold on to this. We can see the gaggle of cars behind. Alonso, Perez and Stroll. Ocon is doing enough to hold on to P7 at this moment in time. He's defended down that DRS straight. Beautiful work from him. Leclerc is going to come round the final couple of corners, and Leclerc is going to win the sprint race here in Texas and be on pole position for tomorrow's Grand Prix here. But Esteban Ocon, as the sun is setting, will go for the visor cam because you've got to be impressed with this performance from Esteban Ocon. His teammate was unlucky at the start, but Esteban Ocon has done a fantastic job here. He's going to get P7 and he's going to score points in a sprint race for Alpine. Lovely work from Esteban. Not so lucky for Pierre. So there we have it, guys. Leclerc wins from Verstappen, Alonso P3, Perez P4, Sainz P5, Stroll and Tsunoda may have penalties as well. Ocon P7, Hamilton P8, Tsunoda P9 and Magnussen rounds off the top 10. Lance Stroll got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Let's get to the strategy for Sunday. Right then, guys, strategy. Pierre Gasly's got some new components on his car. We've been able to manufacture some as it is a sort of different situation, accentual circumstances. So Pierre Gasly is going to start on the soft. I want him to try and make as much ground as he possibly can up, then get onto the mediums, then onto the hard. So that's the idea with Pierre Gasly. I reckon that will work very, very well for Pierre, to be fair. If we have a look at Esteban Ocon, he was very quick on that medium compounder tyre. So he's going to start on the medium, go on to another set, and then onto the hards at the end. So P6 for Esteban, P19, two very different races. Going to be an exciting one. Let's get to 5 red lights for the United States Grand Prix.
We're not far off now here in Austin as the drivers ready themselves for this 56-lap race. This could be an important race today for Lance Stroll.
To get back from P9 up towards the front, It's going to be a case of executing their strategy well and keeping it clean.
But remember, anything can happen in Formula One. Sit tight and get ready. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And away we go, and it is Leclerc leading from Verstappen. Leclerc gets a good start. Verstappen not so much. It's going to be Alonso who's second in to turn one. Ocon just about managing to stay out of trouble here. He's got Lewis Hamilton, but we know he had the measure of him in the sprint race yesterday. It's a decent start for him. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly on those soft compounder tyres, he's got to make moves and strike while the iron is hot. So Esteban Ocon, different races, but we're quite happy with that start. Maintain P6. I reckon we can hold up Hamilton here today. I really do. Esteban Ocon is more than able to hold off Lewis Hamilton today. P6 could be on the cards. Lance Stroll is going to be attacking very much so early doors here. As you can see, he's already looking at the side of that Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. But as we lead away, it's Leclerc from Alonso, Verstappen P3, Sainz P4. Then comes Perez, Ocon, Hamilton, Magnussen in P8, and Magnussen already under attack. But at the moment, George Russell fighting with Pierre Gasly. It spelled absolute calamity for the guys on Saturday. But George Russell, let's have a little look at this. Gasly chucks one up the inside, then ends up having to brake and losing positions. It's scruffy from Pierre. Maybe a little bit of desperation from the Gasman as we come towards the end of lap 1. DRS enabled, and DRS certainly has helped Lewis Hamilton here. Esteban Ocon didn't defend it too much. It doesn't really make sense to do that. I believe Hamilton and Ocon can possibly pull away from this Haas with the DRS. So I'll be intrigued to see what Esteban Ocon manages to do now with Lewis Hamilton, although he's already lost DRS, and Magnussen's now attacking us. Kevin Magnussen up into P7. Not in the script, this one, for Esteban Ocon. He cannot be happy with that at all. Pierre Gasly is still lagging at the back, not managing to make progress on lap 4. Kevin Magnussen just made a good move on Esteban Ocon, but then went and did this. Let's have a little look. Kevin Magnussen into the final corner, locks up that front right, and that has dropped him down the order massively, which has promoted Esteban Ocon up into P8, but Lance Stroll's just managed to get past him. But hopefully now Ocon can just tag onto the back of Lance Stroll. Let's have a look at where this happened. It was into turn 1. They managed not to make contact, but Lance Stroll getting past into P7. But once again, it is our tyre saving that's coming into its own here. Ocon on 82%. He's making these medium compound tyres last. And if he can just hang on to the back of Lance Stroll, this will be very, very beneficial for Ocon. As we come on to lap 6, or as we're on lap 6, he's in the DRS of the faster Aston Martin. And unfortunately though, Ocon not doing particularly well to hold on to these faster cars. Alexander Albon's just got past him, which is rather concerning. It's a big battle into turn 1 again. He shoves him wide, does Alexander Albon. And Albon is up now into P8. I'm hoping Ocon's going to come into his own in a minute. But Pierre Gasly managed to gain a couple of positions on the softs now. Pit window is open for Pierre. He's going to be onto the mediums very, very shortly. But at the moment, he's got, what, 2 seconds to bridge the gap to Tsunoda. We're going to go aggressive on the tyres and try and get up towards the back of that Alpha Tauri. Verstappen is now leading from Leclerc. It's a two-way fight, just as it was on Saturday here on Sunday. Esteban Ocon managing to get back past Alexander Albon. This looks like it's going to be the battle for P7 all afternoon. And Esteban Ocon managing to get it. It's wheel-to-wheel racing. It's hard racing. But Esteban Ocon just about coming out on top there. But as we see, as we join the live action back, Albon down this DRS straight, managing to get the position back. And all this fighting is allowing De Vries in a little bit and losing us time to Lewis Hamilton. So something to bear in mind there. But Esteban Ocon doing enough at the moment to stay well in the points. Pierre Gasly fighting away in P17, and he's now on the back of Bottas and Tsunoda. First pit stop of the race, and it is Pierre Gasly who's in for his pit stop. Going to come out onto the mediums. It's going to be absolute hammer time when he gets onto these. We don't need any pit stop issues. Let's hope that we're not going to get any. It's a decent stop, 2.4 seconds we're happy with that. Albon and Ocon are just exchanging places, as you can see once again. But Gasly is going to be out now, and he's going to be pushing like mad on these medium compound tyres to try and undercut the cars in front. Lap 11. Albon and De Vries into the pit lane on lap 15. We can see Pierre Gasly tearing his way up the start-finish straight. And where is Alexander Albon? Alexander Albon is out a little bit in front, but De Vries, Gasly, that undercut has worked an absolute treat. And remember, his tyres are up to temperature. Now it's going to be very interesting to see where Esteban Ocon comes out when he pits in a little while. We will come back when Ocon's in a couple of laps' time. Esteban Ocon has been burning a bit of ERS, trying to get a little bit of an overcut on Albon and De Vries, but let's have a little look where he comes out here, because Esteban Ocon, he will have the fresher tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly, I believe, is in a DRS train at the moment, or he's trying to get in the DRS, but Esteban Ocon, let's have a look. Let's hope it's a decent pit stop. It certainly is. 2.6, it's not the best. Where is Alexander Albon? Alexander Albon is coming around the final corner. Tsunoda's in front of him. But where is Esteban Ocon going to come out as he's trundling down the pit lane? We will ride on board with Alexander Albon. We can see the Alpine on the left-hand side. Albon's out in front. But remember, Ocon now will have the better tyres for this next stint. He's got to get them up to temperature quickly, but he's been told to deploy straight away. Gasly in P14 is now on the back of Lando Norris, who is on the fresh medium compound of tyre. Lap 17, Verstappen is leading from Leclerc. Let's just have a little look. We've got quite a few cars yet to pit at the front. Alonso, Perez, Sainz, Stroll in P6, Hamilton P7 yet to pit. Neither is Russell, Tsunoda. Then comes Alexander Albon and Esteban Ocon, but Ocon pushing to get back in the DRS of Albon. Big moment here for Esteban Ocon on lap 19. Alexander Albon managed to get past Yuki Tsunoda, and we have got held up badly by the Alpha Tauri, and the good work of getting back in the DRS of Albon has limited us somewhat, because now we've lost time to him. But we are on the better tyres. We've got 10% better tyres than Alexander Albon, so I would expect it to come to us. Meanwhile, at the front, we've got Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. Decent strategy from the Aston Martins, getting both cars in on the same lap. Verstappen yet to pit. I wonder if these guys... No, they're definitely on a two-stop. I was wondering if there was a possible one-stop. Alonso onto the softs. Very interesting strategy. Gasly in P13. Ocon in P9 and looking to chase down Alexander Albon. And just after that, we have got a crash on circuit. It's Logan Sargent at his home Grand Prix. Looks like it's going to be that turn one incident once again. Little tap, and Logan Sargent has lost a lot of time there. Not ideal. We've seen that crash repeatedly through this weekend. Logan Sargent's the next one to suffer. Magnussen looks like he's got a penalty, but Gasly is tottering away nicely in P13. Could he get points today? That would be some achievement, but Esteban Ocon has got to try and get up towards Alexander Albon. Verstappen finally comes into the pits. Be interesting to see if Leclerc has jumped him, which I imagine he will. Fair to say, Lewis Hamilton is on the charge. It's been a fair few laps before we last, since we last spoke to you. But Lewis Hamilton on the soft compounder tyre, getting past Esteban Ocon. The soft compounder tyre can possibly work, but hopefully now we can see Lewis Hamilton drag us along a little bit towards Alexander Albon if we can stay in striking distance, which at this moment in time, as you can see straight away, we're struggling to do. But we just need to keep DRS for a couple of moments, and that will drag us back into this fight with Albon. That's the plan at least. We're on 66% tyres. Albon's on 58. Very interesting strategy is this. If a safety car comes out, I would be intrigued to see what happens next. But Esteban Ocon just about staying in the DRS of Hamilton for the moment. Lap 27, Leclerc leading from Verstappen. Verstappen's on the charge. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Verstappen. 7.5 seconds is the gap from Gasly to Norris in P12. Lap 31, and Pierre Gasly is coming in for his second stop of the afternoon. Magnussen is in the pits behind him, but Gasly is coming in. Makes sense for this to happen. He's going to go onto the hard compounder tyre. And try and just again do what we did on the first stop, try and make up as much time as we possibly can. Let's hope we don't have any pit stop issues, which we haven't. 2.5 seconds is good from the pit stop team once again, and Gasly is out looking good. Russell's managed to overtake Ocon. Couldn't do much about the Mercedes on the soft compounder tyre, but hopefully we're going to start reeling them in very, very quickly. We should have the better tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix should Esteban Ocon, but Gasly's out in P17 and he's now going to be told to once again deploy and attack because he's got a long way to go on these are compounded tyre. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon, plan is to try and catch Russell as quick as he possibly can as these tyres start to die. Lap 33, Esteban Ocon is into the pits. We think we've seen a nice little gap between cars which we can get Esteban Ocon out into, maybe get these R compound tyres firing and then get the undercut on Albon. That's the plan at least. If we have a look, where is he going to come out here in relation? Hulkenberg is just rounding the final corner. Ocon should get out into clean air. This could be absolutely huge for Esteban Ocon. We've been aggressive on the tyres with Pierre Gasly, but now Esteban Ocon, it is literally hammer time. He's got to go for it now. This could be crucial in his race. Verstappen's now leading 1.4 seconds to Leclerc with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. And here we are, lap 34. Albon and Russell coming out of the pits. We've got past Russell, but not... Oh, we haven't got past Russell. We should have got past Russell. We should now get past Russell because Esteban Ocon cannot quite get the look here and get past Alexander Albon. Let's have a look as we go through these winding curves. It's Esteban Ocon who's got the tyres up to temperature now. This is absolutely huge for Esteban. I wouldn't be too concerned if he didn't get past George here, but we want DRS down this next DRS straight. Let's have a little look if he's going to get that. Is he going to be just ahead? I don't think he is. He's going to get the DRS on George Russell and hopefully now managed to pull himself up to Alexander Albon a little bit. Let's have a look. He's deploying ERS. He's got DRS. How much can he gain on Alexander Albon here while his tyres are cold? This is absolutely crucial in Esteban Ocon's race. It's not going to be a big chunk, but it's down to under 2 seconds. So I don't think we're going to manage to beat Alexander Albon. Now the tyres are both the same basically. Albon's are a lap fresher. Didn't matter on the last stint, might matter on this one. Gasly up into P16, but a few cars yet to pit in front of him. And it didn't last too long, did it? George Russell managing to get past Esteban Ocon, back up into P12. We can't compete with this Mercedes this weekend, it must be said. So George Russell back up into P12. Tsunoda and De Vries just pitting. So Ocon possibly will get a point this weekend, but we're hoping now that Russell can pull us up to Albon. But that car of Albon's has looked quick all weekend. Lap 40, we bring you back up to speed. Alexander Albon is holding off this Mercedes charge. He's having a fantastic race. He's 30 seconds back from the two Aston Martins who are battling away in front of him. But it's 7th for Alexander Albon, Hamilton P8, Russell P9 and Ocon is in P10, keeping Nick De Vries at bay. Looks like we're going to score a point this weekend. Pierre Gasly not quite managing to make any sort of big inroads here. He needs a safety car. Verstappen yet to pit, but Leclerc is going to undercut him once again. So Verstappen is going to have a charge on towards the end of this race as we'll just watch this replay. Pierre Gasly overtaking Logan Sargent, aggressive from him down the inside after the DRS straight, and I think at least one Alpine is in front of one Williams. Lap 44, interesting battle at the front brewing. Max Verstappen has just pit for soft compound tyres. Leclerc is on hard, gap 5.7 seconds. It's going to be a chase for Verstappen to win this race here in Texas. And on lap 48, Max Verstappen, it only took him 4 or 5 laps, and he's now past Charles Leclerc and pulling out a sizable gap on the Monegasque driver. Verstappen looks like he's got it won. Ocon is not really closing the gap to George Russell. Albon is managing to just about hold the Mercedes driver at bay. Very impressive from Alexander Albon. Ocon looks like he's going to secure a point here this afternoon. This is it then. Final few corners and Max Verstappen. It's been another masterclass from him today. He's going to come round the final few corners and win the Texas Grand Prix. It's been a fantastic race from him. Leclerc can be very proud of what he's done. That's the difference. Ocon is just coming on to his last lap of the Grand Prix as Verstappen is finishing it. Fantastic work from Max Verstappen. He will take another win. Leclerc will finish second. Alonso will finish third. And if we just see on the track whereabouts is Esteban Ocon, we'll just fast forward this round a little bit. Gasly's finished as he's been lapped. But Esteban Ocon, he's going to come around the final few corners. He's going to score a point again. It's consistent if nothing else. Albon's down to P9, so we've only lost a point really to Williams. Not the end of the world. But Esteban Ocon comes across the line to gain a point again. keeps us ticking over in P5. Let's get to the podium and see that familiar sight of Max Verstappen on the top step.
Max Verstappen has done it. He sealed this year's driver's title.
Winning one title is hard, a second is even harder, but they've done it.
And no doubt, Verstappen fans will be celebrating the Dutchman's achievement.
The wins just keep coming and coming. We'll be running out of superlatives at this rate, Crofty.
So there we have it then. Max Verstappen has won the driver's title. Leclerc in P2, finishing the race. Alonso on the podium once again. Then was Perez, Sainz, Stroll, Hamilton, George Russell gaining 10 places, probably driver of the day. Albon getting to P9 and Ocon losing a few places to P10. Gasly P15 after a very compromised Saturday, it must be said. Driver standings wise then, as we see, he has won the title. Great work from Max Verstappen. Perez in P2 and Leclerc in P3. Alonso gaining positions again. He's now level on points with Carlos Sainz. Ocon's in P9 and Gasly scored no points. Constructor standings wise, Red Bull 754 points. My word, it's just under 200 points. I can't do the exact maths that quick. Ferrari in P2, Aston Martin in P3. Then comes the Mercs, and we maintain P5, scoring 3 points this weekend with the help of those points in the sprint race. It's been a different week once again. We've got the cost cap, but we are ploughing on to the end of the season. We're still scoring, we're still competitive. Stick with us, and I hope we will start to see things improve. We haven't had many safety cars at this moment in time, so it'll be interesting to see if we get any of those in the coming races. Please like and subscribe. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Ta-ra!